evening, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Headlines. I'm Stephenson Worme here. We did have a couple of weeks break. Welcome break, I dare say, but we're back on board again. Of course, so many things have happened over the last couple of weeks, some of which may not necessarily draw interest, others have. This evening we'll be speaking with some gentlemen here and with a very well-known lady a little later on in the program, and we're looking at Spicemas analysis, looking ahead to 2023. I jokingly said to someone a little earlier on that I should put a disclaimer on this program today because I'm probably not the best qualified individual to do this. But the thing is, everything is a learning experience. We've got today on our program Mr. Arley Gill. He's on Zoom. The last time we had him on the set with us, live in studio. He's not there with us, but he's on Zoom. So we're going to be talking with him. To my extreme left, we've got Mr. Robert Steele, band leader and promoter. Mr. Hollis Mapp, of course, well-known entertainer. He's also known by Mr. Killa. And Mr. Dexter Mitchell, who, of course, was on one of my previous program, former CEO of Spicemas. Good evening, gentlemen, and welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Blessed good evening.
One quick correction, I was not the CEO of Spicemas. I was the CEO of the Cultural Foundation.
Cultural Foundation.
And manager of the Grenada Carnival Committee.
I beg your pardon.
I never worked with Spicemas.
Right. Good.
Not with the corporation.
there won't be any suing on that.
No. I just wanted to make that
Thank you very much. Well, I feel much more comfortable and at ease. So let's go across to Mr. Arley Gill. Mr. Gill, good evening. You're there.
Hey, good evening, Stephenson. And congratulations on West Indies winning a game. So we can start from that.
Right. Well, I hope we can take
I am on the ward of Carriacou.
Congratulations.
I am on the island of Carriacou for the
what they will do for the rest of the series, we'll have to wait and see.
So I'm not physically with you.
Right. So you must be slightly tired, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I'm good to go. If we had carnival next week, I'll be ready to go.
You're bursting with energy.
I have a lot of energy.
Okay, so tell us, Ali, what's your overall thoughts of Spicemas 2022? Give us a bit of your analysis.
Thank you, Stephenson, for once again having me on your program. I think that Spicemas 2022 was a massive success. Having regards to the fact that we were delivering Spicemas on the back of a pandemic, and also taking into consideration the fact that we had national and general elections taking us up into late June. I would concede that there were some organizational and delivery glitches, which obviously can be improved upon. But I think that having regards to the background from where we are, where we were, our board being appointed in November, the first task being to consider delivering Spicemas with the pandemic, and that would have been the genesis for the Plan A and Plan B scenario that we outlined to the nation. And then on the heels of that, to having considered the fact that we have a shortened season, I think that we were able to deliver Spicemas successfully.
Yeah, you deem it a massive success, and of course that's from your own evaluation. What about other fans and interest groups? Are they expressing the same sort of sentiments as you are?
I cannot speak to all of the different fans and different interest groups. Other persons have different perspectives from where they are looking at. In terms of Spicemas, of course, we'll have different interest groups. And I don't ever think that you'll have a perfect carnival. So, right? But considering, as I said, for the background from where we were, to what was actually delivered. I think that we have done well, Spicemas control that we are. But having considered everything, generally, I think that we're able to deliver.
You think you were given sufficient time, clearance, so to speak, for the execution of Spicemas 2022, or would you have preferred maybe a longer period of knowledge? All right, we're having some technical problems.
We were
okay.
Advised that we are given clearance to have the so-called Plan B in terms of in Carnival without all of the restrictions of the COVID-19. Having said that, there are some factors in terms of artist preparation, mass band preparation, in terms of getting raw materials. In fact, on Carnival Friday, we have ordered a Spicemas. We embarked upon some serious merchandising for Spicemas 2022, and we only received the goods on Carnival Friday, basically. And the idea was that, for instance, was to print all of our merchandise in Grenada, ensuring that we give our local guys the work, the job creation, creative industry creation to print all of the caps, the jugs, the mugs, the t-shirts and whatnot in Grenada. And we only received the Carnival Friday. Up to no fault of ours, it was just so difficult with the chain of supply restrictions. One, the pandemic. Two, the Russian-Ukraine war. We had stuff in Miami been there for about a month and not being able to get it shipped to Grenada. So all of these were logistical challenges that really and truly you can't, you could not really plan for, in the sense that, there's only so much you can do. So that you have these issues. So that it's not a factor of that we were not given enough time or anything like that. Circumstances beyond anybody's control with regards to the pandemic and then the calling of the elections definitely would have stymied our preparation, our plans in delivering Carnival 2022.
All right, Arley, I'm just going to put a little pause on you there. Don't leave, because there are quite a few things that we would like to ask you. What about our gentlemen in the studio here? Arley, in fact, Bobby suggested that it was a massive success, just using his words. Would you so agree that it was?
Well, it depends on what angle you're looking at. Mm-hmm. The hotels were all full. We had a very safe Carnival relative to this last incident. There are things that you can say, yes. If that is what you're deeming as success, then score one, For me, I deem things different in terms of what I'm looking for in terms of success, to say a massive success. I saw many Grenadians not being able to make it back home because of the flights, right? In terms of not the availability, but the pricing. So definitely, and I mean, for me, I can't understand why you can go to Barbados for $550 and $600 US right there, so close to us, but $4,000 to come here. I mean, something ain't making sense there.
Who's to be blamed for that?
Well, that's why I was asking the question earlier on the positioning of airlift. If there's somebody on the committee, right, that is involved in that, because it's important that if we're going to have our festival, we have to get our people home too. That's a big part of it. Yeah, you want to have the visitors, but if you don't get your Grenadians home, if you don't find a way to get Grenadians to come and partake in it, it'll only be a matter of time before another island takes over and we lose our spirit, our involvement in the festival. Also too, I just felt that the comments and you're hearing people talk and the visitors who coming in, there was something that wasn't us this time around. Right, and I can't pinpoint it. I don't want to cast blame to say any one person is responsible for that problem, but from the Juve aspect, which is the biggest aspect of our carnival, it definitely didn't feel like what we normally deliver. I've heard it was very good in the parishes, right, which is good, but actually I can only speak for Tom. I didn't feel it. I felt that a lot, and I've looked at a lot of comments from people who go to carnival, And they all seem to voice the same opinion that something was not here this time around.
Is it because it is evolving like anything else? There are evolution.
It could be. It could be. I mean, you know, whether or not that is going to turn out to be good for us or bad is what we have to sit down and decide as we go forward, right? What I can tell you is that there were carnivals, there are examples of carnivals in the Caribbean that were rated so high, right? And then they lost their image, they lost their focus in terms of, and they're not rated so high. Other carnivals are climbing above them in terms of people wanting to go to experience those carnivals. And I think that comes from losing your own unique flavor to your carnival, right? I think strongly that that's what's causing it. And if we don't do something to save it, it would only be a matter of time before we become, if you think about it, we're the most expensive to come to, right? We're the most expensive rooms to come to. Why would somebody come here to experience something that they can get for a lot cheaper if it's the same product in other islands? What draws you to come here and pay that extra price is if you're coming to something unique, right? And I don't think you can watch this year to say whether or not it was a success. I think in years to come, we're going to know whether or not this projection, terminology I'm looking for, but trajectory going on, if it's the right one or not.
Arley, you're there with us still, are you?
Yes, Stephenson, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
Right. So there is obviously the concern that Bobby expressed, and seemingly it's a great concern expressed throughout the length and breadth of Grenada and beyond about the expensive ticketing and the challenges to come back home by so many of our folk in the diaspora, regionally and extra-regionally. Is that a concern that you as a CEO has and other stakeholders do have?
No, I'm not a CEO. I'm merely the chairman of the board of the Spicemas.
But chairman,
you know, the issue of the cost of the tickets and availability of flights is an issue outside of SMC or Grenada control. In fact, Bobby should know that the CEO of the Grenada Tourism Authority sits on the Spicemas board. And I can say to you that the GTA worked over beyond the call of duty to get additional flights to come into Grenada. Right? Working with JetBlue, working with Inter-Caribbean for the regional air travel, working with our stakeholders in London and so on to get additional flights. But there's only so much I can do. Now, with regards to Barbados have a higher volume of flights every day, basically. In normal circumstances, there are more flights going from Barbados to New York, Barbados to London, Barbados, any other part of the world than in Grenada. So, I mean, Barbados is one of the main hubs of regional travel. In fact, I have friends over from St. Lucia, for instance, and they took BA from St. Lucia using Herenoa Airport to get into Grenada for Spicemas. So the issue of airlift, as it is now, is a direct, the pandemic has had a direct impact on the issue of airlift. So that airlift is not back yet as per normal. That's the thing, you know. I mean, remember in 2019, for instance, we had Delta coming in from the US to Grenada. Delta is not back as yet. We only have JetBlue and American Airlines coming from the major cities of the US. So that the issue of air travel is not uniquely Carnival related or Grenada related. And I can see that we've made a massive effort through the GTA to get additional flights, additional seats, and so on. But the pricing and so on is certainly out of our control. Ms. Petra Roach can speak. The GTA, she worked really hard in trying to get additional flights and so on. But yes, I agree. The prices were astronomical. But I think it's a direct impact from the pandemic. And I think that come 2023, a lot of these restrictions with regards to the number of flights and the cost of flights, that should take care of itself basically. But yeah, it was difficult, but it's not something that we did not work on.
Okay. Any particular thing that you talked about it being a massive success, but is there anything that you had as what you may call a major concern during the carnival festivities? Anything standing out that has brought great concern?
Of course. One, Bobby pointed it out. Juve, I really wish that it could have been smoother. Although we are seeing certain trends with regards to the Juve and the size of the music trucks and so on that may not be able to feasibly go onto the carnage. I think that had an impact. The production of some of our major shows with regards to the time that it started. And having said that, the SMC has maintained the protocol that was established maybe 10 years ago. With regards to all of the major shows, we have contracted producers for these events. We have hired logistic experts and so on. But the shows, national events, did not start on time and so on. So that there were some operational glitches that really and truly in the past, in some instances, we got right, and for some reason this year we didn't get right. There was the issue with regards to streaming and so on that persons may thought would have affected the actual physical attendance in some of our major shows. And of course, I think the major concern coming from Spicemas 2022 is the decline in the attendance at our flagship event, the Soca Monarch Show. I mean, that is everybody's concern. I mean, we've had maybe about 10 or so soca artists that did not participate for whatever reason. They did not come. That may have affected the shows. There was a lot of different events. In fact, someone was saying to me this afternoon here in Karakou, that when they looked at some days of Carnival in Grenada, they had about 16, 17 events on one day. So that there is also the an influx or a rush of private events that maybe the SMC need to take responsibility for, that we didn't control as we ought to in terms of how it would have impacted national events. Having said that, all of the cruise events, the cruise, the catamarans, the Harbour Master, the Rum Run, and different shows, different events. Those cruises do not come through SMC, they go through the Port Authority. So it's something that we need to look at in terms of ensuring that in 2023 and beyond, that there's greater control in how we do these events. Maybe control is a bad word or used loosely, but how do we regulate these events? How do we ensure that all of these private events do not draw from the major activities of Spicemas? So that is a discussion, I believe, is something that we need to have. We need to devise different strategies going forward. So yes, Stephenson, there are areas of weaknesses and that we are concerned about, and that concerns all Grenadians with regards to the quality of our product, that we need to have a discussion and strategize as to how we can resolve these issues. But having said that, Spicemas is our brand. When we speak of Grenadianism, we speak of Spicemas. And the fact that we were able to execute Spicemas within the space of a couple months, I believe, that is why I said it's a massive, the fact that it has happened. And other Caribbean territories have taken the lead with regards to some of our rollouts with regards to Spicemas 2022. But having said that, we're now in a position where, God willing, we do not have to consider again a pandemic for 2023. We do not have to consider again an election for 2020. In fact, I can say to you that we worked really hard to get Calypso tents up and running early. Because for the last couple of years, before 2019, Calypso tents, for instance, were having one show, and that was just Georgie Night, which I believe was dysfunctional, so that Calypsonians did not, by that time, did not even learn their songs. And this year, we were able to have Calypsonians, Calypso tents doing multiple shows. Having said that, in the last week of elections, 1 week after elections and so on, you would have Calypso 10 leaders saying, boy, we only had 2-3 Calypsonians rehearsed. And Calypsonians late preparation, not completing their songs and so on and so forth. So those are the real challenges in the background that persons may not have be aware of, you know, and you know, because of the timeliness of it. But these are things that we have, God's willing, in 2023 we may not have these challenges, so that Calypsonians, artists and so on, band leaders and so on, be able to order their materials early, take time, build their costumes, design their costumes and so on. So these are some of the operational challenges that not only SMC had, but the stakeholders as well would have had. I mean, we had only 6 steel bands for Panorama. And the Steel Band Association will say to you that the effects of the pandemic has ravaged some of the smaller bands, that really, not just in terms of instruments, but in terms of players, and that would have taken a toll on some of these steel bands, like the Granite Pan Ninjas and the Pan Skiers and so on, that did not participate in Panorama this year. These are the real challenges, really. All right. You know.
Yeah, thank you, Arley. Dexter, what's your overall analysis of Spicemas 2022? Your thoughts?
We failed. I think it was a failure. The comments of the chairman seem to suggest that once there was a carnival, then we've had success. But I think there were some fundamental things that took place that should not have taken place. Notwithstanding.
So you're suggesting failure rather than glitches?
Yes, failure across the board, and I will quantify those failures very briefly. Notwithstanding that the all clear was given in April, the Spicemas had 2 years where they continued to function. The office was open, it was staff was being paid. So the organizational structure, things like marshals on the road, to take care of the parade of the bands, to make sure that the trucks are moving along. Those things could have been put in place prior to April. Artists being prepared. Artists always have material. So election was announced on May 14th, took place on the 23rd of June. That's not going to stop an artist from being prepared for Carnival season. In fact, after Sour Serpent won the crown in 2019, he was singing his 2022 rendition, Greenhouse Effect, to me, the Saturday after Carnival, so, which means artists are always in that position. But let me just quickly wrap up. The Majestic Wednesday, as it is referred to, the Queen Show, was a huge success in the sense that it was sold out. The show was properly produced. There are some issues in terms of the quality of the product, but that can be worked on. The Children's Carnival Frolic did not really work in terms of the attendance and participation. The Calypso Finals was excellent. Actually, I was there and I enjoyed the show. The atmosphere, very good material. And so whether or not it should be kept on Thursday at Progress Park or moved to Sunday at Progress Park, that's up for debate, but that was a very good show. And kudos to Francis Urias Peters, he produced it. And one of the things that must be given credit to for the shows produced by Francis Urias and the Soca Monarch by Troy Garvey, we did not have to wait where MC is saying we are waiting on the judges when the judges are ready. The shows flowed, artist number 1, artist number 2, and so on. So there must be commendations for that. But Soca Monarch was a failure. Mr. Killa is here, and he'll speak to the crowd and the attendance of Soca Monarch. There seems to be some disengagement between the SMC rep for Calypso and Soca and the Soca and Calypso artist. You must be in contact with your artists to find out what is happening, what is taking place, so that on the Wednesday before we are getting an official notification from Boise saying that he's not participating. So that to me was a miserable failure. The attendance, I'm hearing now that the grounds were expanded, but expanded on what counts? If you have some inclination that tickets are not selling, why are you expanding the grounds? And we would like to hear the numbers specifically. I think we are at that stage now where you could say, okay, the increase in the Calypso Finals attendance was 15%, over 2019 and so on. Saturday, only 6 bands participated in Panorama. The attendance again was miserable. The band that was featured in the advertisement, WCK from Dominica, never performed. I don't think we've heard an explanation and a reason why that did not take place. So that, to me, that is another failure. Kudos to the bands that participated, especially the smaller bands, Rainbow City All-Stars and further All-Stars that participated in Panorama. Saturday and Sunday turned out to be 2 foreign shows on the weekend of Carnival. Monday, Bobby already mentioned the Juve. The two main events of Carnival were failures in Juve and the Soca Monarch. I mean, there's no debate around it. They did not succeed. And then Monday and Tuesday on the road was just a disaster. I mean, like I said before, there were no marshals, late starts. Bands did not know where they were supposed to start on Monday Night Mass. People were running around from one point to the next and so on. So in my view, we failed. If we are happy that we had Carnival, then fine. But we had 2 years to prepare. And there are some things you must get right. You must be able to start a show on time. You must be able to get the trucks moving along on time. Juve, which is what most people who are coming in are coming to participate and see. We must be able to field the bands properly and have a proper Juve parade around the carnage on Juve morning. So that is my quick synopsis. I'll elaborate some more later.
Mr. Mapp, having you last up is not intentional. Somebody's got to be last. Maybe we're talking about age here now, so it'd be all right for him to be at the rear.
I may be the most handsome guy last.
Could well be that too, right? What's your assessment though of the season?
I wouldn't call it a huge success, and I wouldn't call it a failure. I would kind of stand in the middle of both of them, because the pandemic in itself was madness throughout the world. Recovering from that, I think it did affect a lot of flow, a lot of things, I mean, from the flights and all of those things, yes. Now, let's look at Carnival from on the ground. As Dexter said, we have 2 years to actually prepare for Carnival. But in that 2 years, there was a lot of if and maybes, right? Not being sure what would happen with the pandemic. So I will cut down those 2 years maybe by a year or so, okay, in half, right? But even if we have a year, this is not just a problem about now and after the pandemic. I have seen this coming from years ago. And I think even with Dexter, we had conversations about that from before. There is an application here that when Carnival is finished, it seems like the effort of creating that global strike, that global attention towards Grenada about our culture is also finished. So the time that we try to rush to create Carnival and create the business surrounding Carnival, it is not done properly.
So tell me, what are some of those dynamics? You talk about this global attraction. What are some of the dynamics that would make that a global attraction?
Okay, so you have Carnival. Carnival in itself is not just the Monday and Tuesday on the road. Carnival in itself is not just we playing mass as villages from, throughout Grenada. Carnival in itself is the time of the year when we make, I think, the highest revenue and the highest fluctuation of tourism, and also Grenadians abroad coming home. That in itself is a product. That in itself is supposed to be treated as a business. So you need to see all the weak spots, all the weak places where you can actually then strengthen not just the Carnival itself or the activities on the ground, but the business aspect of it. Let's look at Pan. For years, I would say children in Grenada, I've been saying this for years, children in Grenada don't really hear Pan play. They're not interested. So there was generations. When from 5 years ago, the people who was in school now playing mass. Now they're free to come out on the road, right? Now they engaging in carnival and music and culture. They don't see pan. They don't hear pan. But if we put it on a pan show on carnival time, we expect them now to then partake in something like that. Now, when you look at the radio stations and calypso, I don't hear calypso like that no more. You see? So that generation that is coming automatically is going to start phasing out. We don't have that interest into those things no more. So on the ground, we need to take an interest in how we design the expression of our culture. You understand? Among ourselves. That builds the interest not just about foreigners, but among ourselves. So that is developing the product. Pan. I would take pan from early, get the pan bands to do a rendition of a song, their favorite Grenadian song. Play that, get the radio station to partake, so that will be a competition where people could hear pan playing from home. The kids will then get drawn to that kind of vibe. The elders will hear pan again. From since June or so, do pan on the Caranach every Sunday, whatever it is, and you start that kind of vibe. You'll be able to now give that to the pan men, where the pan men could then create their events and stuff like that, where you give them permission, and then automatically you could actually ask for something back, where you could move pan maybe to the Saturday before or so. So you give, instead of letting pan or something like that compete with things like Soca Monarch or whatever it is, because Soca Monarch happened on Fantastic Friday, and then the next day is pan. So you, instead of you do this and climax, you actually create this with Soca Monarch, and then you want people to come back down here with pan for pan. It's like creating a show. So automatically there is design in the product that we have that I think is weak, and automatically as time go along, if we're not strengthening on those things, because entertainment in itself is changing. When you look at how people is consuming music now, as I was saying earlier on, you have to literally go on TikTok. You have to go on the Instagram and stuff like that to really build certain type of popularity. If your songs are not there in that vein, sometimes you don't get that buzz internationally. So people are taking in entertainment differently. So you have to kind of move with the world and how it is going. So I think the product in itself needs to strengthen on the ground. When it comes to marketing, I travel the whole world and will go to Miami Carnival, I go to different carnivals, and there is no marketing outside of that. So years ago to the government, I suggested that we create something as a cultural village where tourists can actually go to every single week while they're here. Somewhere that can actually hire the bandsman, the pan man, the job, the costume man you have in their boots with craft and all different sort of things. One tourist taking a picture like this is equivalent to what? 30 or 20 friends and 10 family members. So that is automatic marketing year round. So I think we need to service the product, treat it as a product, and understand it, or understand that it's also a business. When you look at Soca Monarch, well, Soca Monarch for years, the artists been asking for the raise of the prize money and things like that. I feel if there is a better communication between the authorities, SMC who would be in charge of that, a better communication with the artists, a sit down, the meetings, you know what I mean? Ask what is needed, what is necessary. And maybe an artist might still feel, you know what, all right, if I feel like we deserve 80,000, all right, cool. If you're building still and I feel it's something that you're definitely going to give to me in the near future, explain that to me, break it down, tell me why, you know, it is not possible at the moment, and maybe I could receive that. But if there is a blank sheet in front of me, there is no communication, and then when carnival time come, I running up inside of it feels like we are not respected as artists. There is no respect, there is no communication, there is nobody pays attention to you, you don't feel like nobody cares anything about you until carnival comes. So look at Soca Monarch this year. When you look at Soca Monarch, and I want to say this plain, Soca Monarch is a competition, but Soca Monarch again is the show of the season. Soca Monarch is our main and our biggest show. So Soca Monarch also supposed to be treated as a business. You see, it is a product. So when you look at Soca Monarch this year, I watch from the semi-finals and stuff, and I don't want to say this artist, I cannot pick the artist, but I wasn't there at the show. I look at some of it on television, and I read some of the comments, and when I look at some of the performances and I look at other performances, I mean, you could see that there, with the judging, I don't know what is the judging criteria or whatever it is, but besides the judging criteria, there was nobody in Soca Monarch from St. John's. There was nobody in Soca representing, I don't think, from St. Mark's.
Oh yeah,
Brother B was there, right? So it's from St. John's and stuff like that. Because I know from my side, people was talking like, "Oh, I go in Soca Monarch and do we don't go in da, da, da." But when you look at the performances, I think there are people. From my analysis, you know what I mean? From my analysis, there are people that couldn't make it in. So I think still on the ground, we are not servicing our culture. There is not that extreme love for the culture when Carnival is not there. Because if we take the year to start preparing and polishing the product, marketing is also very important. We are not marketing. I am traveling the whole world. There is no time when either the GTA or the Carnival committee will say, well, Mr. Killa, we're working on a project. I know you're in Miami Carnival. How can we work together? And you call me a cultural ambassador who is traveling the world, who is extremely popular, have millions of fans. There is not even an attempt to collaborate.
Okay. All right. So I think we're going to take a break. Thanks for your contribution. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. We'll be talking a little bit too about the whole idea of budgeting. So Arley, don't go. You've already said that you're going to remain with us right through. So hang on, folk. We'll be right back.
I want to be free as can be.
They say that freedom is the ability to fully experience life. The GUT Credit Union is giving you the freedom to choose. Get a loan for any purpose, whether it's consolidating your debt, buying a vehicle, owning your home, back to school, or a dream vacation. We offer competitive rates with terms and payments that fit your lifestyle. Call 440-1354. Email loans@gutcu.com or visit go.gutcu.com/freedom to start enjoying your life, your money, your way. Promotion ends September 30th, 2022. Special conditions apply. More freedom, more choices. GUT Credit Union. It's where you belong.
Total is one of the world's largest oil companies with a top quality line of lubricants. Total Lubricants has a full product line from passenger cars, motorcycle, heavy industrial equipment, mining, trucking, agriculture, and manufacturing machines and vehicles. Total Lubricants, winning championships in motorsports, including Formula One and World Rally Championships. Total Lubricants are available at all Rubis service stations, leading automotive shops, and distributed by Huggins.
When you need your prescription filled or you require non-prescribed medication, supplements, or all your personal needs, visit Gittins Healthcare at locations on Wall Street, Grand Anse, Victoria Street, Granville, and Central W Street, Wall. Gittins Healthcare aims to provide an exceptional personalized pharmacy experience. Additionally, children under 5 and adults 55 years and over will enjoy 10% discount on purchases of $20 and over on prescription medication. Stop settling for less. Visit Gittins Healthcare, where your health is our priority.
Have you heard about the new Soft Weave bathroom tissue with total hygiene? As hygiene and safety have taken center stage, our bathroom tissue is now manufactured with 3 different technologies to offer the best protection for you and your family. UVC light technology for a safe and effective disinfection process, eliminating 99.9% of microorganisms. Also, production at high temperatures, killing all types of germs and bacteria. And it's pH controlled with delicate fibers to prevent irritation for even sensitive skin. Soft Weave Total Hygiene Bathroom Tissue. Available in supermarkets and shops island-wide. Visit Soft Weave Caribbean Facebook or Instagram pages for more information.
When a loved one passes on, we all need the comfort, support, and guidance of a trusted friend. You can rely on LaCour Brothers Funeral Home. We provide a personalized professional service that exceeds all expectations. Our dedicated staff responds to your every need with the greatest detail, ensuring affordability with a variety of options. Our upgraded state-of-the-art facilities, spacious air-conditioned chapel with live internet streaming, a modern, environmentally safe crematorium, the only of its kind on island, private viewing spaces, large on-site repast center, a modern transportation fleet. Join our burial society today and make personalized arrangements for that final moment. As you prepare to enter your loved one into eternal rest, visit or call LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and select a package that brings added comfort to the entire family. LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and Burial Society, continuing a tradition of excellence.
So yes, we're looking at Spicemas analysis and looking ahead at 2023. Quite a lot has been said prior to the break. We, however, have a well-known and somebody who is respected throughout the trial and Grenada, Carriacou, Pity Martinique, and Mrs. Gemma Mason Francis. She's going to chime in. Mrs. Francis, good evening to you.
Hello, good evening, Pastor.
It's always a pleasure to have you on board with anything. So you've been back then, you're now, and obviously you have looked at and assessed carnival situations over the years. Obviously things have changed quite a lot. Now give us a little idea as to your thoughts about this year. What are some of the things you think should have been changed, or what are some of the things you think should be commended? Your thoughts?
All right, if I may begin by saying, well, from a child I've been involved in carnival up to running and hiding from the mass, jabs in particular. But I want to begin by saying, like, trying to give some meaning to the word carnival. And the carnival has its Latin origin, which is goodbye to the flesh. And we had carnival. It is really a sort of religious coming in to introduce a religious festival. It started off about February or March, and it was changed a couple of years ago. The different governments wanted to make money on it and so on. It means goodbye to the flesh, and it was in preparation for Easter, which is one of the biggest festivals of the church, the death of Jesus and the resurrection and so on and so forth. And this is how carnival, goodbye to the flesh, came around. And that time of the year, February or March. Then even the March Gras, again, has foreign meaning. That is Sunday, big Sunday, fat Sunday, the biggest pre-carnival show or fete. And again, this takes you right into Juve, which is the opening of the carnival celebration on the road, Monday. So that is part of our culture that has been changed. And again, I'm annoyed because to accommodate overseas and foreign people, you know, our Juve supposed to begin at 5 o'clock. We have the blowing of the conch shell, the church bells ringing in St. George's, fire station giving off their siren and so on, and Juve begins. So that used to be like in the dark, because again, February or March, it is still dark, you know, and people can't really see. So you used to hear again, when the jab come out, you just hear the clap, 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 and children and everybody running. Now, Juve started off with the old mass. That was the number one in front of the band, the old mass. And you had things, I mean, double meaning. The people had to try and work out in their mind to what this Juve was all about. All things, all sort of words, you know, they have it there with a double meaning. Like 1 year we had, for instance, you know, the firm Jonas, Brown and Hubbard. and you had somebody playing that Joan asked Brown and her bud. And you know you have to put that into... Yes. Then you had famine and the cause of it. And that was two brothers. One had a big body, the other was very slim. So you had them there, and of course it's a lot of fun and laughter and that sort of thing. Now jab, jab again. That is something that I don't know how many people know what jab, jab means and what it's all about. But jab, jab, as we know it today, is not what it was a long time ago. Perhaps about 20 years ago, the whole thing changed. Because the jab, jab band had about 2 people, 4 people, 6 people. The most you will get is 10 or 12 people in a jab, jab band. And everybody used to run from jab, jab. They used the old oil, the charcoal, whatever. It was the red tongues that they had in front of them, and you see that going. And the most frightening thing was in the dark, and you're hearing this clap, 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 clap. That's what they had on their hands. Snakes around their necks, and that sort of thing. And everybody used to run from jab, jab. Big, old, everybody. Young, old, everybody. Then you had the short knee, you had the fair coup, and that sort of thing. The fancy mass and the pretty mass, these were large bands, I mean, by our standards in those days. And especially at the time when they used to come down Market Hill. You standing at the bottom of Market Hill and you're looking at these big bands coming down. It was a sight to behold. Now you might wonder, well, I used to be a judge at Carnival a couple of years ago. And I used to be at my station around the Carnage, around there by Audrey House and so. I also, as a younger child, used to be one of the ushers at the mass in the park and that sort of thing. So I have an idea of what I'm talking about and how you used to judge the bands and that sort of thing. We culture. That again was something I don't know how many of you would know about when steel bands used to clash over St. George's, Belmont as in town and that sort of thing, and the steel band clashing in the road. And that is Grenville Street, Green Street, this is where these bands came from. Pageant, something we missed this year, that was the children's mass. And I don't know why they did not have it this year. All the big bands will have a children's section, and their mass was at Monday pageant in the park or wherever it was. Also, before Monday and Tuesday were not bank holidays, public holidays, you had a half day. You played your juve, and then you had to go to work. And then you closed early for the pageant and so on. And then Tuesday you might close earlier on for the parade of bands in the street and that sort of thing. Something missing this year, and this is very important. The marshals for the bands. Marshals must come from within the bands to marshal them along the route and be helped by the police who will be on the outside. Monday night mass. I played Monday night mass for the first few years because it was older people and more mature people, the cool of the night, and it was a cheap mass. All you paid for was your jersey, something for your hand, for the light or something in your head, and that was it. And your jeans and that sort of thing. But I noticed this year it has become very expensive, the package for Monday night mass. And the problem was with the band stopping every few minutes instead of moving on. I personally believe that starting down where we started by the Moulin Rouge and coming around to reach Carnage and so, that route is too long for Monday night mass. There was a problem even when they just started. The bands were stopping too often. So by the time they reached around by the fire station and the town, a lot of people gone home and a lot drop out from the same band. So the longer the route you take, by the time they reach to around Tropicana and so half of the band dismissed and gone. So you have to think carefully about that. Route for the band and how long it should take and that sort of thing. marshals are important within the band to keep the band moving, because when they stop in every little minute, they're preventing other bands from coming up. And this year I was able to see the first band to come out Tuesday afternoon was able to make the rounds and come round for a second time before some of the bands that were waiting even reached their first point. You know, these are things we have to look at. But very, very important, marshals from within the bands to help them to move. And these are some of my observations. From I was a child looking at mass to now I'm an old lady still looking. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Francis. Do appreciate that very much. Got a bit of a historicity there of it. I don't think Hollis would remember those days at all.
I'm saying, imagine playing Juvie and then going to work.
That's what we knew. It was done half day, and the afternoon period was used for.
That's not happening.
But one of the things Miss Mason mentioned, and let me just use the opportunity to congratulate Bobby and his band, because that band she mentioned that came up and went around a couple of times before the other bands came, that was Summer Crew. And I think Bobby has done a wonderful job in making sure that his masqueraders have a full Tuesday experience. And I think he actually made the loop around Tantin 3 times. And there was also something else I commended him on earlier on tonight. Somebody brought it to my attention. At some point, members of his band were encouraged to hand pieces of the mask, whether it was the armband or headpiece and so on, and he could elaborate on it to kids who were standing by, so that they had something to take home with that probably might encourage them in the future to play mass. I think those things that kind of Hollis touched on, the connectivity between what transpires on Monday and Tuesday with the next generation. So commendations to Bobby.
Let me ask Bobby to jump in here. Bobby, we heard that Mrs. Francis talked about the marshals. And the band supplying the marshals. I'm sorry, I might be slightly ignorant about some things. You can't blame me too much about that. Is that a situation in your organization arrangement where there are marshals there, or is it something that Spicemas got to do and ensure that marshals are there? What's the ideal thing? What should happen?
You see, once you utilize marshals from within your own band, you're going to go into a little bit of a problem there in itself, because the marshals within your band are going to naturally want to do what is best for your band. Right? So if the best for them is to sit down and wait for masqueraders to come before they move, they're not going to move. Right? My band is kind of unique in the sense that I've always said, let my band go first. Right? Because at the end of the day, if they say we could move at 12, I will move at 12. If they say let's move at 11, I will move at 11. It doesn't matter to me. It matters, as far as I'm concerned, for the masquerader. The masquerader wants the most value for their money. When you're putting out $1,600 and $1,500 a costume, and you get to start at 3 o'clock in the evening, and you get 3 hours before it's dark, right? And the band hasn't even moved. And I tell them about 3 o'clock is when they even reaching. They haven't even started the move yet. This to me is a real, it's a disappointment to the people who have put out their money. I've always believed if you decide you don't want to come when we're moving, at least that is your choice. But I am giving you the full day of mass that we have fought hard to get those hours so we can go. So it's your choice, right? And as a band, most of these bands are all-inclusive bands, right? So when you really think about it, from a business point of view, why would you want to sit down and wait, right, for masqueraders to just be gathering at numbers? It's better you move, right? If you're moving, your expense is going to be lower too, no? When you think about it, because you don't have to sit down there with people just drinking and drinking and drinking. Your band is moving. People are gonna consume less as the band moves and the trucks are moving, right? If people chose to come out late and they can't find the band, whose fault is that, right? Because you have to move the parade along. Speaking to with the kids, I was just something donkeys years ago. I remember, I don't know if when you all were growing up, as a little kid, right? I remember going to carnivals and any little thing I could get on me, that was like a big souvenir as I drive. So, and I've always felt that, we have to get the young kids involved in and believing in the carnival. So many parents, they bring their kids out and it's about what Nike shoe they could have on, what brand name shirts you could have your kid dressed up on to come out on the road, right? And it's another thing for me too. I've always said that in my life, when you look at it, you have people on both sides. Some say, boy, carnival is this, and people wearing skimpy clothes and all kind of stuff about the masquerader, right? But I always tell people, when you think about it, if your child is going to go to town, your teenage daughter, where do you think is the safest place for her to be? You sent her on the sidewalk and you don't know where she is? Or instead of a barn where she's going to be in that barn, protected by the masqueraders until the end of the route? When you think about it, a barn is actually a very safe place to put people, right? Because what you're seeing in the road, it's safe, the cameras are all on it, it's protected right through. When you send your teenagers down to town and you don't know where they're going, you just know they're going in town, tell yourself that is potential for problems right there, right? So all of this is, I'm speaking to, from a mass point of view, we have to look at this thing way bigger. We have to say to ourselves, is Grenada ready, the routes capable of holding all these big trailers that have to then turn around and speed back? I saw 3 trailers pass, and I am telling you, I was waiting to hear, because I was sure somebody was going to die this carnival from the trailers. Because when you have to get across those roads, and especially when you're leaving late, and you get across now and you turn around to go back, and you have to get back to go and start for 8 o'clock down in Grand Anse, these drivers have to move these trailers, these big trailers, at a very, very fast pace. Right? And I'm saying we have to look at the logistics. And when I spoke to what is the success, I spoke to the fact that, to me, we had time. Whether or not we say it's a pandemic or not, because as Mr. Killa alluded to before, this is not a problem that just came up over the last 2 years. We have seen this being developed for years now, and we've talked about it, and I just thought that we could have gotten certain things, we could have been ahead, because we were the spotlight. Everybody was looking at Grenada from 2 years ago that they knew we were most likely going to be the one that will go first, right? And it's just a bit disappointing to me that we didn't fully grasp, and just to end on that, I want to say that, look, it make no sense remaining negative. Negative does not fix a problem and carry us forward. The comments I express is not to say, hey, to bash anybody or put people down. What we need to do is to build a committee of maybe stronger people who have a real passion for inside and a knowledge of what it is to be inside, right? A knowledge to understand the roads, to understand what it is that we can actually have on the roads, right? I'm not going to say it's a political thing that goes on in Grenada, but so many times I look at the committees and I'm saying, where's the people on these committees that have an actual involvement, understanding, being in there and understand that route, and also have the success of it being involved in the carnival. As Mr. Killa said, outside we have nobody marketing our carnival, nobody outside. You go to these events, you go to all these special things that are having Uber, Soca Cruise, all these things that are big, and our presence, you see all these other islands branding up, taking full advantage of the marketability of it, and we it's the artists, these individuals themselves that say, let me go and buy a whole bunch of flags. We're doing it all as individuals out there to do for our country. And it's just certain things I think we can fix. We can fix it if we put our mind to it.
All right. Let me go back to Arley. Arley, you're still there with us?
Yes, I am.
Are you satisfied with your organizational structure, or do we need to have, let's say, auxiliary committees put in place to ensure more effective and smoother running? Or can what you have really, really work if people synchronize and do well?
I think there is a need to strengthen the organization and implementation. There is no two ways about that. In fact, I will go further, and I went further this year in terms of the issue of the marshals. The marshals, there are two issues with regards to the marshals, and let me make that absolutely clear. You need marshals for the bands, as Miss Wilson spoke about. With regards to the individuals bands, Bobby band, whichever bands, they need to have their own marshals for their own masquerader experience. In the sense that you do not want to be playing in a band and persons without costumes coming into the bands. And also with regards to the organization of the sections. You rarely see the nice flow and nice beauty of the bands when the sections are together and so on. So you need marshals to prevent outsiders in the band as well as to maintain your sections. But you need marshals from the SMC to move the bands along. And this year we went further in that what I requested of the RGPF and the commissioner is to have a police officer of at least the rank of a sergeant to accompany the marshals to ensure that when they say move, move. I'm not certain if that worked as it should, but that must be the call in the sense that we need to move the bands. That has been an issue. We need to move the bands when we say start and we say move. We need to move. So that's an organizational and a logistical issue which we need to correct. You know, the other thing that has affected, in my respectful view, the Monday night mass parade is the growth of the expansion of the Monday wear. The Monday wear issue. The Monday wear is growing, Bobby. And you will find that the sound systems and the trucks that work for the Monday night wear are the same, or some of them are the same that work for the Monday night. So when they finish the Monday wear with the fancy mass bands, they then have to go to carry the Monday night mass. That's real tight, because the Monday wear starts late evening around 4, 5 and so on and so forth. So that pushes back the Monday night mass. So I do agree that we need to look at the length of the route for Monday night mass if we continue to have the expansion of the Monday wear that the mass bands put on for the masqueraders, which I believe is a growing and really nice concept and nice event, but we need to look at the logistics of it, and maybe in that regard we need to see how we can move, maybe reduce on the route for the Monday night mass to facilitate that Monday wear and to move it earlier. So that's a logistical issue we have to speak about. So yes, Stephenson, there's always room for organizational structures, but just to speak with regards to Bobby when he speaks of real persons inside, I mean the structure of the SMC is that you have representative from Mass, Pan, and Kaiso. So that if Mass is organized properly, and Bobby is part of the GMB or representative body of the Mass bands and so on, those pointers that he's speaking of should be fed to the Mass Band Association representative on the SMC, who brings those points to the SMC. You see, that's the point. So there is a role for not just a GMB expansion with regards to the mass band issue, so that Bobby is there, other persons in the Mass Band Association is there, so that, and that discussion and that conversation must take place in September and October, not June and July. Now, just to comment on briefly with regards to some of the issues, Stephenson, that we spoke of with regards to the restriction of time. Yes, you have 2 years. But they can't plan for everything in 2 years because of the reality that we've had this year. For instance, let's start with the mass bands. The Steel Band Association, in collaboration with the SMC, had to postpone the bomb tune competition and something that we call Pan on the Sand. The Steel Band Association, for instance, could not have had, for instance, the Pan expression. Why? Because a large amount of the steel band players are students, and the CXC exams was pushed back a bit, so that they could not have got the players who were studying for CXC exams to come into the panels to do the rehearsals and so on. So the bomb tune and Pan on the Sand and so on is pushed back for October and November later on this year. So that's a direct relation thing. Now, with regards to the mass bands, yes, Bobby, there's been a growth of the trailer trucks and so on in 2018 and 2019 with regards to the mass bands. But this year you have 14 mass bands registered. 14 mass bands, and each of these mass bands had multiple trailer trucks. Right? So that what I'm saying is that we need now, in the registration of these bands, to say to them, well, if we are pursuing the route of going on the carnage, that only certain amount of bands or trailer trucks can enter the carnage. In fact, one of the ideas that we toyed with was to have 2 music bands, smaller trucks, taking the masqueraders through the carnage and back out. But we, of course, was the first band that goes, so you could have had the time and also the space to go around chanting and so on. And that is commendable, of course. But we do have a logistical issue of these trailer trucks not being able to turn on the carnage. So that going for 2023, 2024, we need to have the conversation as to whether or not bands going into the carnage is the best possible thing, or we start the parade on the carnage going to Granans. Because Granans then can take a lot more of the flow of the trailer truck. So these are the kind of dynamic discussions that we need to have, right? In terms of the growth, this has been one of the weak areas of our carnival, the fancy mass bands. But now, for whatever reasons we may agree with, reasons we may disagree with, we are seeing more persons playing fancy mass, and the mass bands are doing more. You have your cooling trucks, you have your washrooms, you have your all-inclusive facilities and so on. But it comes with an additional weight for the roads and so on, and the security issues and so on. So that up to Carnival Saturday, we were meeting with the Commissioner of Police and the High Command and so on, as to see how best we can work on these issues. So that those things are not, I would say, not dealt with, not discussed. But I'm not sure that we have a solution, so to speak. So going forward, we need to examine the route as to how we go with the fancy mass bands. Mr. Mitchell spoke with regards to artists always have songs. Ask the artists, when did they go to the studio, for instance, to record their song? I mean, so Asopon, for instance, was singing a song maybe 2 years ago. When did he go to record the songs? Right? When did the band rehearsals for the Calypso 10 started? That is what is most important. They can sing their songs and so on. But when did they record those songs? When did they release those songs? That's what is of fundamental importance to the carnival. And I dare say to you, if you speak to Paul Thomas and you speak to other studios and so on, a lot of the guys rush to the studios after the elections. I mean, if we had a yellow soca monarch, a green soca monarch and so on, all those guys had their music ready for the political campaign. But I'm saying to you that from on the ground, that the guys went to rehearse at the Calypso tents very late. 2 and 3 guys went. I mean, you even had cases where fellas, I mean, the week of competition are still writing the last verses and so on. These are just the reality. And I was in constant contact with the tent leaders, because of course Calypso is my real passion. In all of the carnival thing, I'm a Calypso man. And the artists went to the studios late. I commented on a program yesterday, and I said to Terra that the first time I heard today was in the semifinals of the Soca Monarch. So you had that lateness of preparation from the stakeholders themselves, that we cannot deny, so that you cannot hold, in a real sense and in all honesty and stuff, hold the SMC responsibility for the preparation of the artist. You spoke of Boise, with regards to Boise. Boise, as defending Soca Monarch, he doesn't have to take part in the preliminaries and the semifinals. And it is his responsibility to say to the SMC that I am definitely competing or not competing. And every Grenadian knows of the saga, of the Boise saga for the Soca Monarch in 2020. And that's a personal decision. I say to guys, artists takes responsibility for their careers. When they decide to compete or not to compete is a matter for them. When Hollis decided not to compete, he had a mammoth hit, and that took him regionally and internationally by storm. So that artists decide on their careers, right? But I say to all of the artists that when you become cultural ambassadors of Grenada, you put your country first and Spicemas first. Spicemas is the platform Spicemas is the platform for all of our artists to launch their career. Yes, that's the platform. And I respectfully submit that that's the platform that at some point in time, or at every time, you must be grateful to.
All right. Yeah, let's have a quick response. Don't make it too long.
No,
There's a couple of things that we need to look at.
Just in relation to what the chairman said about Boise, and again to me where SMC dropped the ball, the reigning soca monarch and the reigning calypso monarch are afforded the opportunity to sing at the semi-final stage of competition because they are defending, so they do not go through the preliminary. They would not get a semi-final unless they were given that opportunity. So if you got to the semi-final stage of your competition and there was no conversation with Boise and Boise was not invited to take part in the semi-final, right there and then you should have known that something was wrong. We did not have to wait until 2 days before the competition where Boise made an announcement. By then you should have known, and as Killa pointed out, those conversations are not going to be had during the carnival season. The soca calypso rep on the SMC should have been in contact with Boise at least, if not the other soca artists, to say you are the defending monarch, at least you deserve enough a phone call to find out what's going on. But to me, when you got to the semi-final stage and he was not available to perform, then we recognize that something was wrong. In terms of the recording of calypsos, not much calypsos are recorded. I know guys rushed last minute, especially the political commentaries and so on, but being in contact with the studios, guys are not in a hurry to record calypsos because the calypsos are not played on radio. So they might do something to allow the bands or the musician to write the music scores for the bands to rehearse and to practice and so on, but there is no appetite for recording calypso, so guys will just wait until it comes last minute. If they figure that they have something that might get some play on radio, then they will do it, but there's generally no appetite for recording calypso because it comes with a cost, and if you don't make the finals, you are not going to recoup that cost.
Honestly, ironically, I heard you talk about calypso that you seem to herald quite a lot, and I say ironically because you into the soca thing, so to speak, but you seem to be talking highly about the calypso. Is there some rivalry, whether it is verbal or non-verbal? Is there something going on there between this calypso versus soca thing existing in Grenada? What have you picked up?
Well,
give us your assessment.
Well, for me, again, is really and truly servicing that engine. That beautiful engine that we have called Spicemas. It's about servicing it. Now, the radio station is who make your song big. And I think there's supposed to be some sort of collaboration between, I don't know, whoever is in charge, the SMC, and the radio stations. I don't hear a jamu like that before. I don't hear the calypso songs. I think when carnival time is coming and the season start, the foundation, the elders, the ones before us, the calypso is supposed to have a space and a place, because that is us servicing the culture and the heirs of the people. It's supposed to have a space, a certain play time. When you listen, when I came home and started listening like the radio station and stuff like that, I'm not lying to tell you, I was hearing more Vinci Soca playing every single day. You understand? I don't have a problem because I be played worldwide also. But have a space for the calypso and the calypsonians at a certain time of the day, or maybe give them, you understand what I'm saying, an hour, give that respect. Because now when I listen to the, I don't really hear a jamo. There is few people, few DJs that will come and they will play a couple calypso, but I don't hear calypso music like that anymore.
Okay, we're going to pursue that a little. I've just been told we need to take a break. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to go straight back to you. We'll be right back after this break.
WeatherGuard Pro. For every project, there's only one Pro.
In our part of the world, we need for natural disasters like storms and hurricanes, even outside of the season. I'm sure you'll agree that keeping our loved ones, homes, and businesses safe is important. So, I came up with a few quick tips to help you stay safe. First, make a family disaster plan and ensure that everyone in your household is familiar and comfortable with it. Remember to add batteries and flashlights to your emergency kit. Now, for electrical safety. Familiarize yourself with your electrical panel, as it may be necessary to switch off the power during a storm or flood. Make sure you install a transfer or isolation switch to prevent your generator feeding electricity to Grenlec's line. If trees are too close to power lines, call Grenlec at 237 for advice. By following these easy steps, you will be well on your way to being hurricane ready. Don't be caught off guard by natural disasters. Prepare now. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
Get Rubigas. Get cooking. Rubigas, clean, safe, and reliable LPG is the perfect solution for your commercial and everyday needs. For cooking at home or barbecuing, choose Rubigas LPG cylinders. Available in a variety of sizes from 20 to 100 pound cylinders. Rubigas LPG, clean, safe, reliable. Are you cooking with Rubigas? Get Rubis, get going.
So welcome back. And when we left Hollis, you were on the boat. So continue, please.
Again, so I think there is a lot of servicing to be done. We have to collaborate. If we don't have that big basic understanding that this is a big ship and every man on board has their duty. The artist goes to the studio and they produce songs. Now the radio station is the airway that gets the music out to the ears of the people. Now there are some radio stations that just don't play soca, calypso music. Literally don't play calypso music and stuff like that. At least, as we had a little discussion quickly, as Bobby said, if it's Christmas time, you have Real Parang. You know what I mean? From early. It's the same way we're supposed to service our music and our new culture men the same way. So I think there is a problem. And even looking at what a big song is now, the ideas and the topics and stuff like that, we have moved away from really asking the artist to give us high quality music. We have moved away from that. If somebody thief a cow and run with a goat, that is easier to become a hit song. You understand? Because I don't know. I really actually don't understand where we're going at the moment. We're in a phase at the moment. I don't understand where we're going. And that becomes a big song and played way more than somebody who has a good songs, who have good songs. When I release songs, and that is why people will say, oh, but Killa, back then I used to literally feel away. Because if you release a song of a certain type of content that speaks about carnival and this and that, like me and Lava drop mashup, I drop a song before that. And it speaks about mass and Monday night mass and carnival and all of those things. The elders start to call me, yes, Killa, that's a good song, that's a good vibe, da, 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 da. But he does not play. They are not playing it. You see, we drop more mashup and his excitement, whatever it is, real mashup, and it gone. So there is some servicing to do.
But isn't this also a reflection of the society that we live in? People who don't seem to want substance, people who will just have something flippant and run with it and get excitement over it, but it carries absolutely no weight. There's no message to go away with. I don't want to go back into this so much, but we just recently had elections, and you heard some people saying, well, there was a distinct message with this grouping and another grouping, there was no distinct message. are we getting this feeling that our society seem to be happy to run away with things that are not
easy
edifying, things that are not educational, but it will just stir your emotions. In the end, it is not an intellectual thing, it's not a learning thing, it's not an educational thing. The historicity of the thing is not enhanced. I was very happy just to hear Mrs. Francis just relive and tell us what it was all about, which of course many of our young people are not aware of. We hear about jab. What's jab? That's what it's been reduced to. What's the original thing? Did we know that it was diable, which in fact is French, and it also means devil.
Yeah.
And we plunge into so many things, not understanding the originality of it, the meaning of it, and we don't seem to have much substance, and that gets me very concerned.
Because we don't archive.
Now you're going to take me into another.
There is no
take me somewhere.
There is no archives. You know what I mean? Where you can actually go in and dig in, and actually not education is a problem here. So when we speak about music and stuff like that, we are not educated and not being educated. Education is not that thing that we cling to and share among ourselves. When even you're talking about artists on a whole, and the people that is in charge of very important positions when it comes to music here, I don't think is also sharing education. I'm not sure if, I don't want to be disrespectful, if they are educated in some ways when it comes to music. So I think we are lacking that great expression towards our culture, and lacking the way that we treat it and the way that we educate our country about our culture. I was saying from years ago, when we speak about jab, and you go to read jab, no disrespect again, but you have a lot of white people that just come and write things about jab, and that literally almost become our history about jab. When we have people here that has the history, that understand how it started. We have not archived those things, that we're not teaching the younger ones. Well, like, this is what this is about. They just see jab come out. The young people now, they just see a Veco come out. They don't know how Veco started. There is no folk telling. Before, you had stories about when jab come out and shot me, what they used to do, and this and that used to happen. I used to hear those things when I was younger. I don't hear them no more. So those things are fading away. So when we talk about having a cultural foundation and all of those things, we supposed to service the people. We're supposed to have educational programs about mass at a certain time. We're supposed to have events that actually give that type of education. They play jab on an island. I forget the island name outside of Africa. Jab is not just what we think it is. There was tribes in Africa when they had civil wars and stuff like that. One of the tactics that they use is painting themselves in the coal's dust. After they burn like the coal pit, they will roll in the coal's dust, get themselves black, and put the horns on the head in the same way that we'll make it. They will wrap it in the whisk and stuff like that, and have the horns on the head, and they will go, the warriors with their spears in the night, going through the fields, and the enemies will take them for cattle. So the jab is also a warrior from since back then. So there is people that actually put their own twist on it, because they want us to believe that it was only maybe something evil or whatever it is, that the horns mean the devil and all of those things like that. So when we dig for certain type of history, we will understand that there is way more meaning, and there is deeper meaning to even the mass that we play. You see? So there is a lack of education here. I want to touch on this quickly, just like all the artists here in Grenada. Suppose in this time what we live in, supposed to be educated about copyrights, the way that the music is being used, and how it is being sold, how the monetization should be collected and stuff like that. Our music make millions. I, as an artist, not being boastful, but anybody here will say that we have been breaking barriers in the soca industry, but not collecting. So not just in the carnival alone, we have a lot of work to do when it comes to our culture and the way that it is being treated.
All right, now I'm going to bring up a matter here. There are so many things that we can talk about and address. It seemed to me that the jab is becoming bigger and bigger every year. People are getting blacker and blacker. Every year. You did talk about the tradition. I remember when I was much younger. There were guys who had started with the old oil, but some of the guys like Nolly and Tit who would get themselves in the coals dust, etc., and that's what they use. I'm also becoming concerned. Isn't this becoming a health concern in regards to all the old oil on your body? In some cases, remain there for the entire day. I know one particular individual, we're told, who has a real definitive medical situation. He played the jab, smeared the oil on him, and after that his skin was never the same. Are we also creating a health hazard? And I want us to be realistic about this, right? Let's be realistic about it. Are we also injuring ourselves in regards to our health, in regards to the oil that is smeared rather on our bodies?
Well, I would
especially as it is not used properly. People go out there and throw the oil on their body.
Right. So what I know, when you're growing up and playing jab, you're supposed to either put on lard on yourself or grease Vaseline. You grease down yourself so the oil does not just go and into your pores and stuff like that. Now, when it comes to that, some people would be allergic. Some people are allergic to peanuts and peanut butter. So everybody would not be the same. I cannot speak on the health problems that you would suffer from using old oil and stuff like that. We would have to get some experts to speak on that. So I don't know what old oil will do for you. I don't know, sometimes old oil may be good for you, because I know when dog have when dog have major oil, I know they start to shine and look real good. So I don't know. I cannot speak on that. Somebody will have to come and speak on the health issues that is possible.
Maybe subsequently, Hollis, we would have somebody in the program.
Yeah, but
that's a good idea.
But I don't know how much people they gonna get to stop play jab. Because I know people have been playing jab since I was born, and they had the best skin.
I'll tell you this much: the more you try to tell them not to do it, the more you're gonna grow the actual thing, because but it's not just about the health. There is the issue now that we in Grenada we signing on to all these treaties for the environment, and that is also something that these treaties we sign on to. It's all about the funding we're going to get for signing, and some of these things here, when you read into it, there are going to be clashes as we go along. You know what I mean?
But I think like anything else, it will have to come from a source of education, public service announcements, making people aware of
the right way.
Exactly. When you drain the oil, if it goes into the drains and then into the rivers and into the sea, what damage can be done. But I just wanted to touch briefly, if you do indulge me, Pastor, on what Hollis mentioned about the music. We seem to have kind of given up. So there are some young fellas now who are using laptops and using music programs to create, and I'm not saying songs, because it's not songs, it's not three verses and a chorus, some refrains and some hook lines, and somehow that penetrates the radio stations, and we hear the pull up and the big accolades for those songs not songs, those things on the radio station. And Hollis is saying, I think his song about Love and Spicemas, to me, is one of the better songs of the season. I mean, he has a verse where he mentioned all these villages around the island.
All the villages.
All the connectivity, and I'm listening to it like, wow, the creativity in that. I mean, even as recent as 2019, Skinny Banton, What I Do Wrong Again, a fantastic song, well written, great storyline, great danceability and so on. And that is where our music has, what our music has been known for. I mean, starting off with the original Jambalassi song, the original jab song, where there's an emphasis on rhythm with the drumming, but lyrics mattered. You have to tell a story through your song. So I don't know where we've gotten off now, where, as I said, is just run with a good jump here, jump there, and that becomes a song. And we're rewarding it by allowing those songs to enter into competitions and make it onto the big stage. I mean, I can't imagine some of what we saw this year being on stage. Being on stage with you in 2006. I mean,
is it going to change?
It has to change.
Is it going to change, Dexter?
Yeah, because the thing is, we seem to think that is what the audience want, as opposed to what we are feeding them. And I say we, as I think people who've been there before, who've been around for a while, have to speak out and take some responsibility. Because let me just use this analogy. If you have kids at home and they're 10 and 9 years old, and you allow them to decide what is for dinner every night, it would be pizza and peanut butter sandwiches and milkshakes. But the adults who know better have to determine, no, you need some broccoli and you need peas and carrots as part of your diet. Okay. So I think those of us who've been there before, we have to step up.
My thing is how serious we would be taken as a country when it comes to our music as we did before. You know, we literally, I mean, in 2019, we went down there and literally, you know, in Trinidad and shake down the place with some real good songs, you know, Worst Ways and Lil Von and different artists, a whole contingent of us actually went down there, and it was really good songs. Even in the midst of that, I know there was the same kind of vibe happening. But I think over the last 3 years or so, you know, the last 3 years, we really kind of take a nosedive into like anything is a big song now. And I want the artists to pay attention to what travels outside, because all of them have that dream, and we have, it's all about education again. Like, I literally working on an album right now that is almost kind of non-soca, just to actually penetrate and to get into other markets so I could tug soca along. You have to build a new strategy now, because one, the problem is BPM for the international market. Our soca is fast, right? And then you have the accent barrier,
the topics,
right? And the topics and stuff like that. So when we look at international market, I've been piercing international market upon international markets, and I come to realize songs like maybe like Oil It Up, well, Roly Poly was a special. Pick Up Something again, that is a monster hit. But when you go into certain markets, it's really about the songs that are maybe a little bit slower and has some sort of storyline or some substance to it. So most of those songs do not make it there. And that's where we want to go. We want our artists to continue flying, and you know what I mean? So my advice to them is the radio station is to have some sort of net, you know, have some sort of, filtering. Yeah. You know, some sort of filtering that gives the artist the notion that I need to actually do something good. I need to come up with a good song. I need to write a good song, because you will train them to just sing anything and it works. And then I advise to the artist, if you really want to go beyond the shows, you have to create things that will travel beyond the shows.
Okay. Let me go across to Arley. Arley, you're still with us, are you?
I'm still here, listening.
Good. Now, there have been a lot of talk during the course of these last few days and the season about the seeming lack of monies, whether artists have been remunerated well or not. What's the situation? Were you happy with the amount of money you had to work with, or that was a huge concern?
No, I'm not. I think we need to make a larger, we must make a larger investment in Carnival. Central government budget for Carnival is $800,000. Our prize monies on Friday for the different competitions put on by the SMC was above on $800,000. So that speaks enough. We received $1 million from National Lottery Authority. That's an increase basically of only $400,000 from 2019, because in 2019 they had 600,000. The fact of the matter is that we received as well some private sponsorship, but the sponsors, private sponsors as well, they're trying to catch their hand, so to speak, after the pandemic. So there's only so much they can give as well. I want to have to appreciate their limitations. The fact of the matter is that our carnival budget is roughly $5.2 million. I believe, and I respectfully submit, that central government needs to come in at $2.53 million easily for operational budget of carnival. And we need to, when Arley Sanso spoke about the marketing of carnival, I must say that the GTA is definitely making an effort now, a larger effort now than they have made in the past. But really and truly, we still rely on the GTA to fund and to assist us with marketing of Carnival outside of Grenada. Carnival is our largest tourism product, hands down. And we look to the GTA for leadership. This year we were able to do some regional campaigns, and there are plans in the pipeline to spread that to some international campaigns, getting into Miami Carnival, Labor Day, Notting Hill Carnival, Uber Cruise, and so on and so forth. So I hope that these initiatives can really take off in terms of our marketing, and we will look to the GTA to assist us with regards to that. So no, we are nowhere near the sort of funding that we need. I made the point earlier that early in the year that St. Kitts Carnival, St. Kitts Nevis, Federation of St. Kitts Nevis, they had carnival in December. St. Kitts Nevis population is about 30,000. They have a very small carnival, and their central government budget was $2.1 million in December. So that St. Kitts budget definitely doubles what we do. So that, I hear a lot of criticism sometimes. SMC must do this, SMC must do that, and so on. But there's a fundamental, SMC cannot afford to give an artist, to give a first prize in Soca Monarch of $100,000. We simply do not have that kind of resource. And then I say to persons, if you give $100,000 for the winner, how much do you give second place, third place? What do you give then to Panorama? What then you give to Calypso and to the mass bands and so on? Naturally, you will trigger an increase across the board. Our prize money in Soca Monarch is only second to Trinidad and Tobago, right? In this year in Barbados, they gave a car, and some Barbados, of course, is a larger economy than ours, right? With regards to the OECS and so on, our prize monies are competitive, and we are better than all of the other OECS countries. So our prize monies are competitive. I'm not saying that it is the best, but anything more than that is above SMC pay grade with regards to the fact that you need central government to take the lead with regards to that. But the carnival are not just the investment in carnival, are not just to be our competitions and prize monies. Right? When we talk about the protection and promotion of our culture and so on, we need to invest in the vehicle, we need to invest in the shortening and in traditional areas and so on. So it's not just about looking at the top end in terms of a reward, but also with regards to the investments. So that we are far off with regards to the funding for Spicemas. And I believe that we need to make that serious investment into Carnival. But allow me to briefly comment on a couple of the things that the in-house panelists have spoke to with regards, and just make some brief points. Some brief points with regards to the music that is played on the radio and so on. Let's be brutally honest, right? Hollis, you have a radio station. I'm not certain among the amount of calypso that you play on your radio station. But if we are brutally honest, we play the soca, we play the up-tempo beats, we play the dancehall and so on because we believe it is more appealing to the listening audience. That's why we play, and we believe that calypso are not as appealing or commercially rewarding to the radio stations. That's why the calypsos don't be played as much. I mean, we have radio station personalities like fellas like Godfrey Augustine and Fupi and so on, and Star FM. They do play a good amount of calypsos, but it takes individual conscientiousness to play this music, because we do not have a broadcast policy with a certain amount of local content among the radio stations on island. And I saw some data some days ago that we have about 34 registered radio stations. There are radio stations for almost every village on the island, but there is not a dedicated media house that really promotes calypso, so to speak. But we need a broadcast policy with regards to local content. Barring that, we would need individual conscientiousness to play the calypso music, because I am of the respectful view that the calypsos are not being played as it ought to, because the radio station owners, the business, they're running a business, and they don't believe that the calypso music is as commercially attractive as the other type of music. So that is my take with regards to the play of music. Now, quickly on Jab Jab, I painstakingly, Jab means devil. But the Jab is not a devil. I keep making that point the Jab is not a devil. The Jab is a portrayal of the devil, masquerade. So there's so many times I see critics up and down, oh, Jab, they're playing devil mask. No, it's a portrayal. That's what it is, it's a portrayal. I just think I needed to make that point forcefully, because we take it literally that fellas block up themselves and so on every year to play, to pretend that, no, it's a portrayal. So these are merely a portrayal. So persons who play Jab is not the devil. The Prime Minister is not the devil. And the Prime Minister is right to make a portrayal of a traditional mass in a culture that he belongs to and that he owns. Let's get the history and so on and right. The Prime Minister is not the devil. It's a portrayal. And he has always played Jab. He always played fancy mass and so on. He's a culture man. And I mean, you know, we have to get the history right and the context right. Somebody playing Jab doesn't mean them is the devil. The portrayal of the devil. Now, finally, as Arley pointed out, and I call Killa Arley all the time, that's his right name. I am not qualified to speak on the health issues with regards to the oil, but I dare say that I must be a thought for the Jambalasi effort, led by Mr. Ian Charles and the Jambalasi Festival they tried to do this year. This young man is actually doing some Jab pigmentation with charcoal dust and so on, and I believe that is a brilliant initiative, a small business initiative that the Greater Development Bank, for instance, should call him and give him a loan or a grant to develop that. You know, we speak of cultural industries and so on, but this joke we make it. Look at the amount of persons, young business persons this year that are selling the Jab helmets. That's an excellent initiative to branding and selling our culture. These small entrepreneurs that are doing the Jab helmets and so on and selling it, that's a brilliant thing. And we need to give them all the support. So that going forward too, for Spicemas, we need to see some initiatives and so on from the Development Bank and so to fund some of these local entrepreneurs in the creation of not only the Jab mask and so on, but we can do the Shotney outfits commercially, the Veco outfits commercially and so on, using these private entrepreneurs and mass creators. This is where the real thing is at, you know. You know, this is real. Well, that's another subject, Stephenson. I don't want to bombard the program. I'll stop it here. But these initiatives of Jambalasi, led by Ian Charles, is a brilliant initiative. What I'm seeing around the island in regards to persons selling the Jab helmets, oh man, that make my heart skip a bit. I love it, and I believe that an institution, a development bank, and so on, should look with regards to how they can fund these creative sectors.
Let me just quickly ask you, Arley, before you're not running off, the absence of some of the big names, has it impacted the overall content negatively? What sort of impact?
I think it would. I think it did. For instance, Arley spoke with regards to somebody from St. John, and Rooney J. is probably the best thing we've had from St. John since Hollis. And I thought that Rooney J. He had a tune this year on the band parade. There's something to that effect. I had a beautiful soca composition, storyline, melodic structure, variation, and Rooney has been, has been growing on stage. And I said to Rudy, I said, why are you not in competition? You wasted a year. But at the end of the day, the artists decide on their career and what is best for them and their career. But definitely, I mean, we've had, for us, not just the Boise as a defending king, but we've had Rooney J, we've had fellas like Gill Kerry and so on who did not compete. Guys like Golden from Karakou, Dash and so on. And for different reasons. For instance, I mean, I had a good conversation with Vaughn and so on, and Vaughn will say to you, boss, I am not a competitor. There are persons who don't like to compete, right? They don't like the competition, and they did in the past and so on, but that is not their cup of tea. Hollis is a competitor. Boise is a competitor. Sparky, Electrify, competitors. But there's some fellas and so on, they love their music, they do really good quality music. Lavama is a guy who don't like to compete. That's not his thing. He produces good quality music and so on, but he prefer to go on and mash up a fete rather than compete. And I know the stress of competition, and I know the sort of investment that the guys make for competition. Not everybody at the end, every season want to compete. It takes a toll on them. But I would say to the young artists and so on that when you look at Hollis, you look at other Talpri and so on, they competed and made a name for themselves in competition here in Grenada. And at that, in some respects, would have given them some sort of platform to where they are now in their careers. And I'm extremely proud of where Hollis is in his career. And I believe that sooner rather than later, he'll be bigger than Michael Jackson ever was. He has the talent, he has the skill, the variety of music. He can sing dancehall, hip hop, anything. That kid is supremely talented. But I would like to encourage the guys who did not compete this year to get back into competition. But I did think at some levels, of course, it would have impacted on the patrons turning out and definitely impacted on the quality of the carnival. But that's something that I say to bosses all the time. Artists have to take individual responsibility for their career. Something Harley spoke about with regards to the copyrighted and so on. I think Mr. Mitchell spoke about artist education and so on as well. We did. We tried to do about 2 artist workshops and so on in terms of capacity building and teaching them about the industry and so on. And just a handful turns out. The Calypso Judges Workshop, for instance, is something that is open for all Calypsonians, all soca artists and so on. And for the last 20 years, it's the same 2-3 guys that artists that goes to these events, that goes to these seminars, workshops and so on. So while I hear Hollis a lot with regards to the education of these artists and so on, the artists themselves must make themselves available for the information. They must make themselves available to the information. How many of them go to Hollis and sit down and pick his brain about the industry? If we have music workshops and so on, they bring in fellas like Eugene Gittins, they bring in Shakira Patterson to talk about branding and so on and so forth, and the artists don't come, then how else do we make it happen? The artists have to recognize that, developing their own intellectual capacity and understanding of the industry, not just themselves, but also persons who call themselves managers of artists and so on. You don't go to these sessions to listen to these different experts in different areas of the industry and the field and so on, and we say that we reach where we're going. So that the SMC has done, we've tried to do some developmental workshops to assist the artists and so on. And just like Isukamona, a lot of them stayed away. But that work must continue. It must continue, but artists have to be conscientious enough. That is not just about June and July going to a studio and sing a song and call yourself an artist. There's a lot more to it.
Okay.
Even financial management, financial investment and so on. You get, persons who are Akora in those fields and so on to speak to the artists of what do you do with your money? Well, if per se, the SMC is able to give $100,000 to the winner of the Soca Monarch next year, what do you do with it? As the artist, if you're a winner, even in the NBA and so on, you see fellas making millions and so on, but a lot of them has financial education and financial advisors. So that is the broader aspect of making our artists the professionals that we speak about.
All right.
Not just going on stage and perform. There's a lot more to it.
Ali, we're running out of time, and unfortunately, we've always given our listeners an opportunity to call in and give us some feedback. Things just went very, very warm with us here this evening, but who knows? We've got just another 12 minutes to go, and maybe there might be a caller or two who would want to just chime in just short, very, very quickly. We might just have a little bit of room for that. Hollis, I realize that you were beckoning to say something.
But we really actually don't have enough time. There is so much that I want to say, and some response to what the chairman has said. And one thing I want to say, Mr. Arley, in all respect, I think you became chairman and for this carnival. But before that, there has been an attitude where there is a big disconnect between the artists and SMC, big time. So there might be vision and there might be things that you may think should happen or should work, but it doesn't happen. So if we does not facilitate some sort of relationship, you understand, or some bedding, some foundation, and some enticement to the artists to bring them forward, to be a part of something or to partake. Now, also, we have a culture where monkey see, monkey do. So if I have a workshop and 4 artists come out, even if I have to choose one of those artists and work along with them, promote them, put them out there, another artist might realize, this is where then I'm supposed to be. So we're supposed to have an application, because we cannot just actually say, all right, if I am, as you say, if I am the father of a house, I cannot just leave everything, as Dexter said a while ago, to the children to decide when evening comes. You understand what I'm saying? Then they might not come, they might not go to school at all tomorrow. Okay. You have to send them to school. You see, so at the end of the day, when we are in position and we are in charge, there is some things that we definitely have to, take control of and help build it.
And just to further Hollis' point and to make the practical application to it is that if we recognize now that we have a problem with the product, so we saw what we had on Soca Monarch stage, and we were not satisfied, then we cannot just sit back and point fingers at the artists. Maybe we need a new rule, because this is what life is about. It's about evolution. So we say to the artist, look, you must attend one workshop, one judges workshop, or one development workshop in order to be able to qualify for the competition. Because I am of the view that the Soca Monarch stage is an incubator for creating professionals like Hollis, like Talpree, like the inspectors, because what the competition does is put you in this box that says you must write a specific song, you must focus on melody. So when Hollis is preparing music now, he came from that school of thought, from that training, that I must focus on my melody, I must focus on my lyrics, because you had to write that for competition.
And when I reach Trinidad,
exactly. And like, when you come out with these 2 and 3 hooks in one song, and you get this melody, because you had to create that.
Definitely train you for it.
Exactly, and we've been very fortunate in Grenada that we've had the growth. So I mean, we had Sheldon Douglas dominating in the late 90s. Then we had Talpree came, and Hollis had to beat Talpree, and then boys, he had to come and compete. Well, he never competed against Hollis, but he competed against the great inspector and beat people who were good at. That is what the competition prepares you for. So probably we have gotten to a stage where we have to say to the young artists, no, you cannot do as you want. You cannot just bring material to us and we accept it. If you want to compete, we are going to provide you with the guidance, the judging criteria. We are going to walk you through that process in October, in November, in December, and get you ready, because we are responsible for putting out a fantastic product and use the likes of Hollis and so on.
30 seconds, Hollis.
Yeah, and I want to say this: when you're creating a platform, as you say, you can't catch a fly with lime.
Exactly.
So we have to create a vibe whereby monkey see, monkey do. If you see great artists are being, held up by the SMC or the culture or whatever it is, that is what other artists also want. But there is not that relationship. We don't have that relationship here at all when it comes to the Cultural Foundation and artists. Now, to the chairman, there is a lot of things that he said that is extremely true, and I understand the work, and I know Mr. Arley Gill from ever since, and he's a lover of the culture. So I know there is a lot of great intention, but one of the things that we have to make sure that we pay attention to is to stay connected to the roots and understand what is happening on the ground. You understand? For us to really make this work, and we have to build greater relationships.
Yep. Bobby, I need to ask you, it's just closing on to that cutoff period that we have. And I have traversed the length and breadth of Grenada and listened to so many individuals who have commented about what they have seen and the deterioration of certain aspects of the carnival, and deterioration specifically now to attire, or maybe lack thereof of it, until some people are saying, look, it's really gone verging on vulgarity. People are walking the street, in some cases literally naked, and there are those who have little or nothing on, captured by many of our young people, captured by our children. And I heard you talk about having your young ones right in the midst of the band, so there is a sense of security, rather than sending them out to St. George's and you don't even know where they are. But how would you speak to the fact that the clothes are becoming thinner and thinner, meaner and meaner, leaner and leaner, and there seems to be this element of vulgarity that is hitting, and I'm not referring only to Carnival, but that's where it's showcased more than anything else. Would you want to comment on this, please?
You know, everything is linked. Every single thing is linked. If all radio stations are going to project a particular sort of behavior through the music they choose to play, the people are going to follow that music and that trend. If we are allowing, when I first came out, I remember people looked at my mask and said, this is the skimpy thing, these people here come to corrupt Grenada and all kind of madness, right? I'm a born Grenadian. I grew up, I got into mass because of Dorothy Patterson. I got into mass in Grenada because of Dorothy Patterson. Coming and seeing the bands every vacation, because at that time I was living in Trinidad with my dad and mom who were across there working, right? But I'm a born Grenadian. What I'm seeing changes. I'm not going to judge somebody from clothes, because a clothes does not make who you are as an individual. What I will say to you is, if you look at it this way, one of the things I've never met a girl yet that wants to be in a string, not beaded, not stuff like that. But it's what is the cost? What is the image? What is the thing? I told people about this the other day. I was having a conversation. VIP.
30 seconds.
Right? VIP. When you do a VIP in Grenada, we say to ourselves, yeah, VIP is outside. Everybody wants a VIP. If you take two ladies and one lady gets invited and gets a ticket, her boyfriend could buy her to go into the VIP, and her best friend doesn't have the ability to go into the VIP, you would think in a culture they'll still go to the party. That's not what's happening. That lady will come up with an excuse to stay home because she prefers to be home than to go in the lesser area. She prefers not to be seen as, I'm not at that level. So if everybody's image is to wear nothing, everybody else is going to follow that image. We have to change that. We have to make it a scene that we can bead, we can make the costume look sexy. We do not have to be naked on the road. We can make it happen. But my band was seen as naked on the road, so I don't know what to as the answer to that. What I would say to SMC is, we can start doing a lot of things to fix those problems without being restricted, without saying, nah, you can't do, because that will never work. Well, you can't do, will never work. It will only push more people down.
Well, I can tell you that there are a lot of things that I don't know, I must admit. I can't tell you I know what it is. If you ask me to write an I say about Carnival in Grenada, I believe I'm going to pass because I think I'm rather imaginative and my grammar is reasonably well, so I will pass it. But it has to do more with imagination. I've never been to a Juve, I've never been to a Dimanche Gras, I've never been to a pageant, so I don't really know what it's all about, really. And I don't think I've missed anything, quite personally speaking. But, you know,
I just want to say something quickly.
The pastor we invited Dexter. Is that what Hollis is doing there? Invited you?
Yeah, the word vulgar, I wouldn't use it to express to describe the costumes. Even, well, you know.
No, I mean, we've had quite a lot of discussions tonight, and I think we've all respected each other very well. Yeah. But I think that there is a concern, whether we want to be honest or not, there is a concern that modesty has really, it is going down the drain, and we need to, as you say, put mechanism in place to ensure that it doesn't get worse than it is, as the case may be. But that might be another subject matter and another time that we'll have to talk about that. We've run out of time. It's 10 o'clock. So, hey, Dexter, I want to thank you so much for coming. Hollis, thank you for coming in onto the program. We appreciate you. And Bobby, it's the first time I'm sitting down with either you or Hollis. We appreciate it so very much. And Arley, we want to say thank you so much. You stayed for the entire 2 hours of the show. Thank you for staying with us. We appreciate you so very much. And we want to appreciate the senior lady, Mrs. Jeremy Mason Francis, who gave us a bit of the historicity of things around. So thanks a lot to everybody, those of you who listened, and unfortunately we didn't have callers this time because it was pregnant with information here this evening. But until next time, God bless, have a wonderful evening, have a wonderful night, as the case may be, and join me next week, God's willing, same time, same station for Beyond the Headlines. Thank you, have a good one.